Hello, my friends. We're back with another Live with Lava Sub. You can call me Lava Sub, or you can call me Weston. You can call me your little punk rock goblin, if you know me real well. Speaking of people we know real well, later this program, we're going to have my good buddy and previous guest, Seth MacDonall, on the program, and we're going to talk about some. We're going to talk about weird shit. Me and Seth, when we get together, we say a lot of dumb shit. So count on that. We're going to probably talk a little bit about our based short king, George Lucas. And we're probably going to be talking a little bit about AI, robotics, and stuff like that. Just because we were talking about THX 1138, which kind of ties both those things together, in a way, sorta. Anyway, point is that we're an art stream, so we're still doing art, and I was having an interesting thought right before we started, unrelated to the drawing, of course. But I was just having a thought. You want to know how I know, like, in my core, that I'm verse? It's because I alternate standing up and sitting when I pee. That's how you know for sure. That's the real tell. So, just a little elder queer wisdom for you on this fine Tuesday. Sam says that they wish they could do the same, and I've known plenty of people who've made it work. So, no matter who you are, with a little bit of effort and passion, you too can be verse. Anyway, let's switch over to the art we're doing on this program here. This is maybe not like, I was talking to Sam just before we started the program. This is a decent post, but it's a little bit blurry, and the composition could be better. So we might do a little adjusto. Yeah, you know what? We're just going to start the program off by just adjusting ever so slightly how the image sits in this frame, because that's really what's bugging me. Is among other things, but I think this is the big one. Is I just want it a little bit more centered, so that am I drawing? No. Switch. Perfect. That this area up in this area. Oh, that's a good brush. Kind of is our the area where we'll get the most dead space. Then we can do a little bit of, maybe we'll throw a little background in there. But because of the subject matter, me and Seth are going to be chatting about later, I'm going to try and turn myself into a robot here, which I don't know if I've ever actually done. So that'll be interesting. Yeah. Oh, I should say, I like to do this at the top of the program, just so that everybody knows. We might be covering some sensitive material today, as we always do. At some point or another, you're going to get a little bit of a rant, maybe. And, sometimes they get pretty heated. So, I just wanted to throw out a content warning, parental advisory, and all that good stuff for everybody listening, just because that's what is responsible for me to do. I want to make sure no one is uncomfortable, no one's having a bad time. So if heavy subject matter isn't your bag, well, now is your chance to bow out. And I totally understand and can respect that. But for all of the rest of you, nasty little people like me, I'm going to be doing a little bit of robot times on my face. And the rest of me, I'm all in there. Most of it. Most of it is in there. But I think this is an interesting one. Interesting reference to do like a robot from. I think especially the way that the light splits my face might give me the opportunity to do some real interesting shit here. I don't want to get too wiggy with how I'm messing around with this stuff, but I'm trying to keep this fairly simple. I'm not going to paint it. I don't even think I'm going to outline it. I'm just going to do it real rough. Thinking I'm just going to block some stuff in right now while I'm thinking about it. Oopsie. This washed outside, we're going to have this nice bright blue. No, go away. Thinking I want some big chunky geometric shapes. Nope, that's not what I wanted. That's not what I wanted. Okay. And how do I want to... We'll work on that later. That's a future Weston problem. One of those things, you know. You know how we do it here. And then... Don't want it too flat. You know what I mean? Oopsie. Guess we're talking triangles, aren't we? Stupid. Let's flip it. What the hell? I got the right layer selected. Why aren't you flipping? Oh, it did. I'm just too far zoomed in. Okay, let's try that again. Yeah, that's weird. I don't want that. Okay. Yeah. You see what I'm doing? You see what I'm doing? It's like I'm an artist or something. Oh. Oh, damn it. I kind of just... Okay, let's see what happens when I merge. I want to rotate because the way that the nose is coming out, it's going to drive me insane. That's better, I think. Oh, no. Okay. No, you know what? It doesn't matter. I was thinking I should, Oh, trailed off there. Sorry. I was thinking I should color the other layer, the flipped layer, a different color, a darker color, because that's what I'm going to end up doing. But this is just the rough. How do I want to do this nose to cheekbone area? Because I know underneath, I want like some areas that are underneath that are poking through that kind of like show this wires and mechanics kind of layer. I'm just gonna freehand because that's a good idea. uh, well, because I'm because I'm not entirely secure in how this is going to turn out if I do it that way. But that's okay. It doesn't have to be good. It just has to be art, right? That's what they say. Right. Nope. No, it's just a little. I can't tell if it's my face or if my face is uneven, or if I just didn't nail the perspective for the robot face. I know I'm a little asymmetrical. Can only be perfect in so many ways. You know what I mean? The photo or what I'm doing? Okay. Yeah, let's see what that looks like. Oh, it's very angry. Well, I guess it's not that angry necessarily. If I wanted it to be angry, that's more angry if I went that direction. James Bond? Okay. I love that for me. Oh, too far. Let's do this one first. Nope. Sharper. That's so funny. You ever think about the fact that like I'm like my choice to make this so hard edged and geometric. It's like our perception of how robots will act, in a way. Like our expectation, you know? Kind of weird. I don't know. Just think about it a lot. Like it's a projection of like what we assume about robots, especially these like I was saying, kind of aggressive lines that I'm doing. I don't know. I talked a lot on the program about how I do my best to be maybe a little bit overly optimistic at times, just because my tendency is towards the negative and the cynical, and I don't love that about me. Um, does not help me, does not serve me. So I fight against that uh, tendency. That yeah, yeah. Like Evie. Evie, is it Evie or Ava? I can't remember now. Oh, dude. Yeah, I really love Big Hero 6. I thought that was such a cool movie. Yeah, what? It's not perfect! How am I going to live? I mean, no, it's not perfect, but I do kind of like this. Yeah, I can see it. Alright, you know how we were talking about earlier? I was like, man, I didn't change the color side to side. Well, now I'm going to try and do that. Let's see how it works. I'm going to do it with a gradient. I don't know if it's going to work very well, but we'll see what happens. I mean, that's not bad. That's not bad. Okay. Well, and now we have color samples to just pull from, because I didn't think about that earlier. So now we'll just keep that on our... Alright, this is going to have to be the top layer because the robot mask is going to want to go... over everything. I guess, but the hand. Right, we were talking last episode, last live, last week. We were talking last week about um, how I'm trying to put the order of my operations in these drawings, and that is usually top layer to bottom layer. So top layer down. Just try and work on like what's foremost in the composition. So like I know I didn't do this, but like the hand, we have this hand that kind of sits in here, and that is going to be farthest forward in the from the viewer, effectively, from you, the viewer, um, the consumer. Yeah. Okay. How am I going to simplify this? I'm just like trying to plan it out in my head. You know what? Let's try and use that simple line tool. That'll definitely make me make some choices. Oh, that's gonna look bad. Let's not do that. Never mind. I changed my mind. What if I just do I do want it to be fairly square though. These fingers. Oh, right. But there's gonna be interconnecting like rubber joints that are gonna have to go in here so that the robot can work. Man, did I bite off more than I could chew in this live? Keep watching to find out. Actually, it's gonna look pretty tight. We love an armadillo finger. Oh, damn this blurriness. Damn it. Damn it. It's fine. It's also gonna drive me insane. Yeah, nope. Start that over. You know what? What if I... Right, this is future Weston speaking. Hello. Yeah, that helped. Just doing it from the sides down instead of the other way around. Oopsie. Just realized I'm gonna probably want to shrink that down. So I'm just going in try and remember that. Oopsie. I think we need a little more space there, and yeah, it's fine. It's gonna be great. Chonky fingers, chonky fingers. Oh, that's too big. Too big. Oopsie. All right, now how to do the thumb. That's the question. We're just gonna pretend. Nope, not that. It's the real hard part because it's like the joint that kind of bends outward. That's my left hand. To think about it. Which you may or may not know this about me, but one thumb goes straight up, one thumb goes straight back. My right thumb, straight. My left thumb, a J shape. Or an upside down J, depending on which way you're looking at it. Anyway, it's a bend. I think this is because one time I was playing Donkey Kong on the SNES, Donkey Kong Country, for like 14 hours straight with my brother. And at one point, I think we were like, I was a teenager. At one point, I just felt like this weird like tingle in my thumb. And pretty sure it's been straight ever since then. Yeah. So I'm pretty sure that it's a video game related injury. No. I hate it. We hate it, precious. That's my own personal interpretation of Gollum. Do not tag Andy Serkis. He doesn't need to see this. You know, Gollum is pretty dramatic little beach. It truly is. I think we it's understated, you know. The subtext is Gollum, very dramatic. The thumb just gets two joints. That's it. Let's see what that looks like. That works. I like it. I don't hate it as much as I thought I would, but there we are. What? Pardon? Oh my god, is that like, I kind of love that. Is it like part of the same kind of like cultural uh shift that brought about things like Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies and whatnot?
I think it's in the same vein, yeah.
Okay, I can get behind that. This looks kind of sick. What the hell? Why ain't I been drawing robots all this time? What's wrong with me? Okay. Um, actually, it's not fair. I have drawn a lot of robots in my day. Just none of them as good as this one so far. I could fuck this up. We don't know. Stay tuned to find out. Will I fuck this up? I haven't done it so far on stream. So, public scrutiny keeps me legit as an artist. Nope. I don't like it. It's not gonna read. I thought it would look like a wrist if I did it closer. Let's throw the elbow on there and see what this looks like. Because elbow's going to be another one of those jointed parts. I'm going to do like a armor kind of flourish, I think, with it.
You might have to taper it at the wrist a little bit to make it read more forearm.
No, you're absolutely right. Sam's saying, oopsie, I drew on my reference. Sam's saying, I'm going to have to taper the wrist more to make it read. I know they're right. 1000% correct. I think I'm also going to try doing this more diamond or pyramid kind of shape with it. That ain't hidden either. How do hand work? Like, I'm looking at it, and I'm like, wait. What the hell's going on? No, you're right. Absolutely right, yeah. You know what I'm gonna try and do first? Is I think I'm gonna do the elbow first. Oopsie. Go back. And that will help me, I think. Ugly chevron. Nope. Start it again. Do it again! Not good enough! I won't need like a elderly mentor character in my biopic when eventually it gets made because I will be that character as well. It'll just be the multiple personalities that live inside my head as the rude and potentially abusive mentor figure. Truly. Yep. Thank you. Yeah. I think like it's also like what you were saying with the shading being a really dominant aspect of how this is gonna help it read. You know, we're gonna come back. I like I like this right now. I might not like it later, but that again, a future Weston problem. It's not bad. Okay. So now we're gonna connect, connect, connect. Guess we still have some going that way. Damn. Hit me. I don't know anything about Transformers, but I would assume I'm an Autobot because the Decepticons are like, you know, bad guys, which I assume is like the thing about robot anime that I'm just now realizing in my mid-30s is that it's like all pretty political, but I haven't watched any, so I don't know what kind of messages they're saying. And I guess Transformers isn't necessarily robot anime, but it kind of is robot anime, like in its absolute nature of it. Like, isn't that part of the thing about Transformers is it's like an import, but then got English dubs? I don't know anything about Transformers, dude. I know that robot cartoons were not something that we came up with. We did not get there first. That's real. I know a lot of people who love Transformers. I'm not one of them. Yeah, you know what? That's the thing is I did have some of the toys. I did have at least a couple Transformers toys, but yeah, I never knew anything about the Transformers. I liked the airplane one. I was probably one of the bad guys because, you know, I assume. I don't I don't know why even I think that. Damn, okay. It is kind of cool. I'm still pretty happy with this. Yeah. I wish I had any of my old art. It's been so long. Most of that's gone. I do have some art from high school. God, should we show you some of my art from high school? That would be fun. Alright, let me know in chat. I'll go grab my old sketchbook. I know exactly where it is, so I don't know why I'm saying I think it's somewhere, but yeah. Let me know. I'll go grab that shit and get back to camera mode and show you all my high school art. That's very bad. Damn. Okay. We've made some progress, but now I'm kind of stumping myself here. I guess I do want to do this second hand next. I'm gonna. Oh, what's up? Oh, I was just gonna. Go ahead. Oh, no, good call. Sam was reminding me to start a new layer for this. I drew the ears on the arm layer. Damn it. Oh well, it's fine. It's fine. Oh, right. I was talking about Mandalorian. I was gonna talk about Mandalorian. I don't know if anybody's caught the first episode, but me and Kat did last night. So spoilers ahead if you have not seen it. But yeah, it was too short. I guess that's really my only comment upon it, is that it was too damn short. I want more of it immediately. Um, not like, dude, yeah, I thought that was so silly. And him going to the Princess Mandalorian, what's her name? I can't remember. Anyway, Din Djarin going there instead of going to our beloved Amy Sedaris character, who almost for sure would find that part for him. Um, I was that's where I thought he was going to see going back to it's Tatooine, right? Yeah. Because she's like also wrapped up in the Boba Fett stuff that's happening on Tatooine. So yeah, I thought that's where he was going, and not to go talk to Bo-Katan. I think that's it. Yeah, I thought he was going to go talk to her instead. And yeah, I mean, I guess I was also glad to have checked in with Bo-Katan, because that was a cool character. I wanted to know more about what happened there after we last saw her. Um, oh, same. 100% want to spin off with that character. With Amy Sedaris' character, where she's just hanging out with her droids. I would eat that shit up. I mean, yeah, I'm big fan of Amy Sedaris. Honestly, not even like I'm like a casual. Like I got in late. I didn't know how good she was until um, at home. I think with Amy Sedaris, me and Kat started watching that with some of our friends, and God, that show fucking ruled, dude. I laughed fucking hard every episode. Um, and yeah, I've just basically been standing ever since. But I haven't even gone back and watched like Strangers with Candy or anything like that. I need to. I just wanted to watch South Park. What the fuck is happening? It was on Cartoon Network, right? Or was it a different channel? Okay. Or yeah, I meant Comedy Central, but yeah. Right. Either way. Yeah. Uh, yeah, she's great, and her character in Mandalorian has just been one of the highlights, and I absolutely would just watch an entire uh series of that character and her droids. Droids don't get enough respect, man. That's part of why I liked Andor so much, was that it fits some of that dialogue in. Because yeah, as much as and like people, I think can mistake my hatred for quote unquote AI that we're getting right now, that I've talked about multiple times on stream, comes from a place where a fear or dislike of the idea of robotic robotics in general. Maybe I don't know, but the truth is that I really like the idea of robots and think they could do tons of good for the world. I just don't think. Um, I mean, first of all, shit, I should save some of this for when Seth gets here. Um, yeah, we'll get into that when Seth gets here. So I'll hold off for now. But I, no, probably not. Like, mostly just talk about like the um. Like, I have a couple of things up, and uh, most of them are just like talking about like just AI in a more general way, trying to talk because I was gonna say, what we're seeing with the art apps and uh, the AI writing and all of that stuff. It's none of it's AI, not even by a long shot. Like I don't think I made this clear in the previous talks that we've had about it because it's in no way AI. It is just uh it's algorithmic. It has nothing to do with artificial intelligence in the way that artificial intelligence is something that is foreseeable for the future, but nothing even close to what we have now resembles the real idea of artificial intelligence. Um, I mean, by its in it is still a basically it is still a science fiction concept. We just have started being able to see the future where it exists in our reality, much like any number of science fiction concepts that when they were written about, no one thought it would be possible and since have come to pass. I mean, like cell phones. I think that's a pretty solid example. I can't remember whose book that was, like the computers that exist in your pocket, where that whole concept came from. But, wait, what is happening here? Because the hand is turned, the knuckles are aligned this way. Okay, so we're going to do a panel on the top of the hand. And you'll see the machinery. No. Oh. Excellent point. Oh no! Where are all these lines? Oh god damn it, they're on my face layer. I didn't do anything with the new layer I made. You know what fun way to fix this issue though. I can just select, oh wait, no, I have to dupe first. Dupe it. And no. I don't even need to go through all that process. I could just erase everything but the hand. And then erase just the hand. There. Now I have two separate layers. Magic. I need to take this hand layer and throw it. Nope, I don't think I did want it up top, did I? No. Good. Ooh. Yeah, okay. Think I know what I want it to do here. I'm gonna have, oopsie. Oh my god. How did you get that big? Oh, I was erasing, that's right. How did you get that big? Oh my goodness. No, just talking to my art. Yeah, okay. Here's what we're doing. Those lines aren't ready to end yet. This one will, because it runs in. Oh wait, no. I don't think I'm gonna do the shirt at all. trying to avoid that. So that's for my booby. No, too long. Oh yeah, this was supposed to be a rough. I don't know. I don't know how to do that, is the thing. So here we are. Oh, that's why I don't like this hand. Okay. You know, we're figuring this out. It isn't a rough, but it is still kind of a rough. You know what I mean? Yes, we also watched the new episodes of Carnival Row last night, and you know, my big gripe was that beat where Agreus and what's her name, rich lady, um, like spent all morning talking about how like, oh, you need to start learning to understand what these people are talking about. You know, I think there's real value in it. And then like the next scene, they were like, we need to get out of here for no reason. It it really did feel like a scene was just missing. Like I was so frustrated and so confused by that because I was getting hopeful. I was like, yeah, they should love communism and understand that they, you know, giving up a minor amount of their uh, like individual ability to attain and hoard wealth uh, is severely diminished when you think about the good it can do for so many people. It's exactly. It was. It's such a great. It's one of the best depictions of like communism I've seen, or socialism in media, uh, and it was so disappointing because I thought they were like advocating. I thought that like because we see so much Red Scare propaganda where um, uh, even if it's coded in languages of science fiction or fantasy, when you start talking about like uh, taking taking people's financial uh, individuality away, making money for all rather than for uh, uh, one, you know, a concept that is so ingrained within our culture. Whenever we see anybody that mimics concepts of socialism or communism, um, even anarchism, sometimes within popular media, it's always to malign them. And within this world so far, we've seen nothing but these people doing almost. I mean, one of the best depictions of non-reality versions of these ideologies um, in fiction, and it was just so refreshing uh, to not have these views like maligned, and for them to almost like try and get an audience to get behind it, get an audience to understand that these concepts aren't bad, that these aren't horrible things. And I thought that we were using these two characters, Agreus and the rich lady whose name I'm forgetting, to kind of like be our stand-ins, you know, an audience stand-in for people who may, for whatever reason, not agree with the tenets and ideology of communism or socialism, because they're putting it in a way that is honest, is fair, but is also giving reasons for things like you know, the firing squad that happened when we first got to the packed Civil War area. I can't remember the name of the city, but you know, we also like we got an explanation, a pretty reasonable explanation, that these people were slavers and they couldn't be trusted by the new government, especially during times of civil war when they're fighting an active war against an oppressive government. Like, you know, how are you going to? You can't trust them to act within the new social system.
I have a theory about the scene that I think might be missing that would make them switch so quickly.
Well, hit me.
And I feel like there's a reason why it's cut, and because it's again like one of those, like, it would be jarring, I think, for most of the audience of the show. I think, do you remember the woman who was sleeping outside of their room when they first got there? And she's like, you took that room from me and my husband, blah, 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 blah. And then they disappeared her.
Oh, yeah.
So I think maybe they either found out what happened to the disappeared woman, or what I think is maybe more in line is they find out that that disappeared woman used to be a member of the bourgeoisie and had been complying with everything that they had wanted, but then was disappeared for some reason anyway.
Interesting. Okay, hold that thought. Actually, I'll be right back. I gotta pee.
Oh, okay, we'll go to a quick break.
Oh, and we're back. Yeah, quick pee break. Gotta take care of myself. You know what I mean? Well, yeah. Oh, okay. That's good. Yeah, no, it doesn't appear like they learned anything new from the conversation, and it does seem like there might be just a scene missing. But as far as speculation on my end from like why or anything like that, I mean, just storytelling reasons, they obviously are. Um, we've gone back and forth with both Agreus and the other lady. Um, you know, whether or not we like them or dislike them throughout the show. And I think that's kind of what they're trying to get us kind of back on the I hate these fucking people train, because that's what happened for me and my partner, as we were just like, these motherfuckers, they're never gonna be okay. They cannot be re-educated. They cannot be rehabilitated. I hope these commies fucking tag them out all the fuck up. Especially like Imogen. Imogen, that's her name. Which, by the way, I just want to say, those two actors are probably my two favorites in the whole fucking series. Because of how well they're able to pull off those big sweeps with their character, where they change so dramatically in the eyes of the audience. I mean, they have me, dude. Like, every scene of theirs, I just want to see more. Yeah. Shouts out to Tamsin Merchant and David Gyasi. Oh, with Joanne Whaley, I mean, shout out to Joanne Whaley just generally. I mean, I'm so bummed that what we get from her character in this show isn't anything like what we got from her in Willow. I was so disappointed in the Sorsha that we were delivered in that show. This is the Sorsha we all deserved. Leonora. Yeah, someone who is in a very similar... Like, honestly, I feel like there's definitely some inspiration from Carnival Row, drawing from Willow. At least in a minor way. I mean, it's almost like referential to cast Joanne Whaley in a fantasy world, you know? That's almost enough. But yeah, the show obviously has a lot of love for the genre, just generally, so... yeah, it tracks. I mean, really all of the performances are great. I mean, I can't look at one actor in that whole show that I'm like, yeah, they kind of suck. They're kind of mid. Everyone's killing it. Everyone's doing a really great job in that show, and I really like. I mean, Simon McBurney. Oh my God, how much I hate his character, that Millworthy. Or wait, no, Millworthy's not. I'm talking about the wrong guy. Who's? Yeah, the bad cop, the mean cop. Starts with a B. Yeah, I think Cara Delevingne, she's doing fine, but and Orlando Bloom, especially in the more recent episodes, I think he made some big choices, which is not his type of thing. Um, like earlier in the series, he was making a lot of weird choices that weren't necessarily that big, but were just kind of like entertaining, because it was like, what are you doing, Orlando? Just chill the fuck out, bro. Um, Jamie Harris, Dombrey, that guy, I haven't hated a villain like that in a long time. What an absolute thumb of a character. What a great performance. Like, I looked up his career because I was like, what is this guy? Where else has he been? Why do I hate him like I know him? And honestly, there's not a lot I've seen him in other than Lovecraft Country. He also did some episodes of Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. I haven't seen. I think he was in The Magicians in episodes I haven't seen yet. Yeah, a lot of stuff that I haven't caught other than Lovecraft Country and Carnival Row. So, yeah, shout out to what was it, Jamie Harris, yeah. All of the actors in the show are killing it, but I hate Jamie Harris's character in a visceral kind of way. Which nice cop? There are no nice cops. Right. He's not Doe. That's for sure. Uh, but yeah, that guy. I can't remember his character either, but the nice cop or whatever. Right. Exactly. Yeah, he's yeah, a great performance. Honestly, I mean, I I was so glad to see this episode just say ACAB with its whole chest. and it really pissed me off the last couple episodes. Not the most recent ones, but I think it was episodes 3 and 4, where Philo backstabs, his not Tourmaline, Vignette, and the rest of the Black Ravens, because he didn't want to start a civil war in the Burg, on the row. Like, it made me so upset. Like, I didn't realize Orlando Bloom's like actual personality was going to be used in this show. No, I'm not exaggerating. If you aren't aware of Orlando Bloom's kind of philanthropic endeavors, or kind of like what he's done as far as like the politicians that he endorses publicly, they're yeah, that's what I'm using as my measure of where I'm coming from with my critique of both Orlando Bloom and Rycroft Philostrate. Because it was a very stupid position for Philo to actually take. Very, very self-destructive, and I think it's one of those things where it's giving his character kind of that moment to realize how bad the cops are, and not like really come to the conclusion that we kind of saw him starting to come to in the last couple episodes, where he doesn't fucking care about these people anymore. He starts to see that they are truly the villains of the story. There is no way to cooperate with them, and people are going to die on the row, regardless of whether or not there is a actual bloody war between the upper class and the Picts, the Fae of the city, or not. People are going to die regardless, especially, and in one case, both sides are going to suffer losses, and in the other case, only one side is ever going to suffer any losses of any kind of magnitude, and that will be the already marginalized, already downtrodden Fae of the city. Okay.
Hey.
Sethy!
Hey!
Hey, we were talking about a show you don't watch.
I'm sure of it, because I don't recognize anything.
Alright, well, hey everybody, this is our good buddy Seth, previous guest and again guest today. Seth, say hi to everyone in the chat.
Ever. Hi, chat. Hi, everybody.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here, buddy. It's good to hear your voice.
It's good to hear yours too. All fun, all the best, right?
Yeah.
But who's here?
It's you. You're
okay,
here.
It's me.
So I am here.
In company. Okay.
Yeah, and Sam is listening in, but I don't think is on mic at the moment. So
okay.
Yeah, so okay. It's just us that everybody is hearing currently.
Well, that's all the funner. So.
And I'm drawing me, but a robot.
That's dope. That is
Thank you.
Just dope.
It's coming together. I was kind of not sure about it at first, but it's coming together. And I started drawing a robot because we were going to talk about some robot-related stuff.
Yeah, dude. I'm so down for that.
So Seth hit me up the other night and was like, what's that?
I'm going to find my voice and start talking like crazy.
Great.
It's a sort of different mood this time around. It's 6 months later, and I think that sounds appropriate. That sounds like it makes sense.
No, yeah. I'm with you. Seth hit me up the other night and asked me if I have ever seen THX 1138. But he said the full title. That's like not even the title that anybody knows.
Well, that's the thing is that what you just said is the actual title of the film that he made, the actual theatrical film that it would become. As a student film that was only 15 minutes long, it was called Electronic Labyrinth THX 1138 4EB. So
Fun.
he just started the stuff around that, and everybody's like, okay, that's too clumsy a title for people to hang on to, and it's already bad enough that it's just letters and numbers. So
Yeah, I think it's interesting because it's the first appearance of THX, which would later become like the standard for audio in film.
Oh.
And yeah, it's now in it's been in the beginning of thousands of movies all around the world. THX is a household name, and very few people know that it comes back to this.
With ear-destroying synthwave.
Exactly. Although I'm a big fan of that sound. It kind of gets me right in my gooch.
It's weird also that it came about like later on. It was just something that was kind of retroactively, like George Lucas was like, I think this is just what it's got to be, and like in the 90s when he was like, here are all of like the really awesome cuts that people didn't really get to see, and basically we're just screening my old stuff again because people are going to pay money. There are all kinds of kids that want to see the movies in theaters and never had the chance because let's face it, they weren't born yet,
Right.
And then I just remember like that was my experience was watching all of the original Star Wars movies in theaters with all of the extra material and the new stuff that honestly didn't feel right because like it's just straight up clashed with the fact that you have all of this CGI that's all way too advanced and everything else is puppets. So
yeah, I hated the prequels too. I still can't watch them and like them. I've never liked the prequels. The closest I've got to liking the prequels is Genndy Tartakovsky's Clone Wars.
Yeah. It's also but I mean like that's a sort of different beast, which was great and all. Not that I have like a lot to say about that as somebody that did not watch much of any of that stuff, but like it certainly stood out and held its own better than the prequels themselves. So, I mean, respect, right?
Yeah, man, I don't know when the last time you watched the prequels was, but I tried to rewatch them fairly recently, and
they don't hold up.
It's sad because we're like one of the main reasons I wanted to talk today was because it's. The more that I learn about Lucas's work, the more it's like this guy is kind of based, though.
Oh yeah, I mean, like batty as hell. It's also kind of sad that he's hanging on to the past as hard as he is, and it's also weird that he hangs on to certain parts of the past. Howard the Duck, not so much. But
well, I think it's almost unfair to say at this point he's sold like most of the properties that his name has been attached to, and over the last few years has just been making like private movies that he's never going to show the world, probably maybe someday when he dies. But
I've been wondering what he's been up to. It's like he doesn't have to do anything, but it makes sense because it's obviously his calling.
Yeah, I mean he loves making movies, so I mean, from what I read, that's basically what he's been doing since he sold Lucasfilm and all of the properties to Disney.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and I'm for it, man. I want to be in one, frankly.
Damn.
George, call me, bro. I will be your base protagonist. I've always
totally
wanted to be
him making movies. It's just that like it's kind of weird that he's doing it. He has done it in the way that he's done, but he doesn't have to do anything else. So I guess that the fact that he sold it off and he's like, okay, I guess I can't touch this anymore. It that gives me more respect for him as opposed to somebody who's just like hiding out with all of his toys,
right?
Which he also does. Clearly, no offense, George, but he's got a lot of toys.
I mean, we got Paddington right here, bro. I've had this since I was, I don't know, probably 2 or 3.
Oh, that's boss.
OG Paddington. Collectors. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we do a content warning at the beginning of every episode now, Seth, just because of you. It's all your fault.
I know
I'm
it's
kidding,
not my
I'm kidding.
fault, but anyways, I'm happy to I wish I could take credit for that. I really do.
No,
Did
I'm
I
a
say
nasty
something,
little
by the
freak.
way? Because I also have no filter and forget that I say words that are important.
I don't think you said anything on our live stream that
I don't
is,
think
like,
I've said anything
not
sensitive
appropriate.
yet, exactly. But
No.
since Sam brought it up, I mean, I guess we could revisit what I said about children being exposed to things that they shouldn't be on the internet, which is normal. And at least it's normalized in today's world. But like, we can't protect all the children, and that's really not our fault if they happen to wander into the streams of everything and go, "What the hell is that?"
Oh, yeah, us.
Fun.
I was like, no, what were we talking about? I don't remember this, but it is
Oh,
part
no,
of, like,
6
a bigger
months ago.
conversation going on the internet right now. I don't know if you're aware, but, like, there's people, like, full-grown adult people talking about how, like, we shouldn't have sex scenes because it violates, because I didn't consent to seeing nudity in a movie.
Well, the really weird thing about conservative America right now is the fact that apparently they don't care about the nudity anymore, but they care if a guy is in a dress.
No, bro, this isn't conservatives.
Oh, okay. What are we talking
This is
about then?
progressive Zoomers.
Oh, okay. Well, it's weird. I guess that shows. I guess
Sorry, what?
because like I said, that shows that it goes full circle because in the 90s, it was just like all of the conservative freak out about satanic music and like nudity at the Super Bowl. Well, that was later, but like all of like the weird, like, hey, we're showing too much skin even though it's not technically full nudity,
Mhm.
and like then I guess it's come to the point where the left has finally found its reasons for doing the same.
Well,
Video games are bad again.
Well, no, I mean, even the first political correct kind of like wave was by liberals in the, well, maybe not the first, but in the 90s, it was 80s and 90s. It was headed up like by Tipper Gore.
I was just gonna mention her. I don't know where she stood, but I thought she was part of the moral majorities, which kind of confused me as Al Gore's wife. But like, I have no idea exactly what that meant for her politics and versus his.
Sure.
Not that there's like a huge difference there.
Yeah, all this to say that, I mean, the ideas are incredibly conservative, that groups like the PMRC was espousing, but the people involved a lot of the time were liberals. And that's, this is part of my disdain for liberals that goes back to childhood.
Sense, though, because that was like a parent issue, right? With all of the parents being concerned about children, that really like blurred the lines more politically, because it was a time when everybody was like, America is America, whether, and like they still felt more commonality, and like, you're not commies, we're willing to not call you commies, and like, a decade later, well, what did I say about, no, forget that, you're all commies again.
Right. I mean, yeah, I think to your point, yeah, liberals definitely participated in, have participated historically in Red Scare propaganda just as viscerally, just as intensely as conservatives. I mean, especially in this country, yeah, or in the United States, because I know you're a Quebec commie.
I'm the Quebec commie. For sure. So anyway, I think if we can keep the back, on track a little bit, I'm trying to remember why this came up. This had something to do with Star Wars.
Right, we were talking about the Viet Cong, or we weren't talking about that, but I'm assuming that's where you were going. Was the Viet Cong kind of being the creative inspiration for the rebels in Star Wars?
That's something, but like, I mean, that was definitely not what we were talking about.
Oh, I thought it might be where you were going, because that was something I was doing a little bit of research. Because we were gonna talk about George Lucas, inevitably talking about 1138.
Well, I definitely have to keep this strictly to an hour in order for things to be cool. But so let's get back to that then. Let's just forget about all this. to talk about, like, we were just talking about censorship, which is absolutely great in terms of THX 1138, because like
True.
that in the movie is a completely dystopian world, and it's like I don't think there's anything like explicitly like AI going on. You sent me like the link and I started watching like the first 20 minutes of it, and spoilers, warning, content warning to everybody here. I'm talking about this movie and have not seen the whole thing. So
Well,
I have seen the student film, which is amazing. Which is like a really vague, watered down, like like everything is all weird sound effects, and you just sort of have to understand in the subtext that this prisoner is running as an escapee, and shit is going off the rails, basically.
well, the only thing AI is really involved in is the android cops.
Yeah, there are, and that's something I noticed. That's why I'm like, not. But the thing is, I think it's not fully certain, because like they also show the guy doing like this weird confessional with it's obviously a lot like 1984, where he's confessing to Jesus in the form of Big Brother, and it's actually a tape that's just playing back to him in response. So I kind of feel as if, like, especially because it's clearly programmed responses, it works whether no matter what the person is saying, but it clearly obviously riffs off of what a person says. So there has to be something of like algorithmic triggers that are moving along the dialogue between man and machine.
Totally. The character Ohm 0000. This Christ-like figure that kind of like dispenses wisdom or whatever, like in a confessional booth. I think it's more about what it's saying in the as like a commentary, It
let you
does
know
have
what
that flavor of like text AI, that kind of shit.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
It does absolutely work that way. But that's why I think that it's unclear how much AI guides this society or is in control of it. Who knows? Because it's like there's clearly a lot of machinery and automation and tech that's like spurring on humanity, like in lieu of actual human interaction and subtext. So I think it's a very strange situation to talk about. It's not clear who he's talking to, but just from seeing this much, and I haven't even gotten to the point where he's actually in trouble with anyone yet, although things are starting to whisper because he's already hooked up with his roommate, which obviously that's a no-no.
Mm-hmm.
But beyond that, it's clear that from what I've seen, I feel like that's just sort of people are telling on themselves and they don't know it. They're it's the same idea as 1984 with like the telescreens, except like they're not even talking to people or recording information. And there was a lot of telling on yourself in 1984, but in this case it's clearly like like, tell us more, could you be more specific?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
absolutely. And they already know, it's pretty clear that the level of surveillance in that world is like everywhere. You're being watched at all times. Exactly, yeah. So it's not even, it's almost like how it's almost relating to the concept of shame. They want you. It's like the system wants you to feel shame. It wants you to feel paranoid. It wants you distracted.
Yes, and that's a very brilliant insight about this movie. Is it's shown in a very implicit way. I mean, like you're supposed to deduce this information from these kinds of interactions, but I think it's one of the ways where George Lucas is clearly very brilliant and ahead of his time, and made this a groundbreaking film that so many people did not pay attention to for obvious reasons, and also because of sabotage from Hollywood. But like it's amazing how clear this is, and it might not be clear to people that don't understand language and like the way that social cues and even social control and policing works through language. But you can tell because like this guy is completely given over to this. This is clearly something he does every day, maybe several times a day, and it's just something he's grown up under, you know? Like this is something that's all around everyone that everyone just does, and it's like it's been laced into their everyday life in such a way that they depend on it. It's like a parental figure that's always there. They clearly wouldn't know what to do without it. They need it in order, the same way that they can easily, comfortably talk to somebody that they trust and love as an actual figure in their life. For so many ways that's been actually taken out of people's lives, clearly. Like they've come to depend on this thing that's always there for anybody at any time. And it's just there for anybody. Nobody has to depend on a person. It's clear that everybody sort of has these feelings, and something else that reinforces that is the opening shot. One of those mechanized cops that you were talking about, you can see him like leading off like a 3-year-old child, just walking him over to an elevator and escorting him perhaps to a nursery or daycare of some kind. And it's like you can see machine actually leading man. And through this stage of life, and through all stages of life, it's clear that this is something everybody's being kept by this.
Mhm. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
that's
Yeah,
just fact.
No, you go. Sorry, man. What were you saying?
No, I just said that is fascinating because it's a subtle thing, but that simple shot and things like that simple interaction with man and machine, it shows how deep that whole thing is. How many layers to that world there are. And yet there are also things that are as simple as like malls. It's so creepy, and it's similar enough to our world where you're just like, this is too easily real. Like you literally see people with walking through malls, and there are cars and like all these things that are, it's like so many ways that they're boxed in by extra layers of infrastructure that we don't have, but that at the same time at the base are internally has all of the things that our society has.
Right. It's in some ways, it would be nice to have certain kinds of the kinds of infrastructure that we see in a lot of dystopian. Well, I don't know why I'm putting that in quotes, but
Oh no,
dystopian
that
kind
makes
of
sense.
like concepts. Because you look outside at our society right now, and most of our infrastructure. I mean, especially in the States. I don't know. They're probably a little bit better in Canada, I assume.
Honestly, I don't think it's that different. Like, and we're
Yeah.
probably very similar in terms of the kind of infrastructure and the way cities are laid out.
Right.
There's a whole other crap to the way things are done here, but that would be a little difficult to explain because a lot of it is just that, at least from what I understand, it's a more French layout, at least more of the ancient way, more of the old fashioned, like it's no longer a thing in France, but like it was something that was brought from France in the 1600s. So
Okay.
yeah. And it's a city that obviously worked better when there were horses and buggies, and not so much when there are cars.
I see.
So
Well, y'all have good public transportation.
it's decent. It's way too expensive, but it's decent. Point is though, like what you were saying about the infrastructure though, like there is an obvious efficiency, and that's another thing that that's emphasized a lot in the movie is efficiency and productivity, which is like, I mean, obviously 1984 has that, but like that reminds me more of Brave New World for obvious reasons.
Mhm.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. That's really one of the wonderful things about this movie is
It
that it
comes,
kind of
yeah.
bridges the gap between the ideology of 1984 and Brave New World. There's different
Yeah.
aspects pulled from either, and
Yeah,
uh,
like the drugs are obviously like soma, and like like there's in the film they talk about drug violations, and it's like it's weird because in our world we think like drug violations as being like having drugs, but in their world it's a violation when you don't take the drugs they tell you to take.
mhm. Yeah, I mean it's actually not too dissimilar from how a lot of people with uh, who take different kinds of like antidepressants or antipsychotics or any kind of like prescribed medicine that helps them
Yeah.
get through the day better.
It's like if
Um,
their world is inside of a pharmacy and in the creepiest way possible.
well, yeah, or I mean like in how it's dealt with in our world. Like when
Yeah.
I remember when I was on Adderall as a kid. Whenever I was having a bit of a weird day, or like I wasn't completely like stoic, like my
Mhm.
family would ask me like, or if there was a disagreement, an argument, that was the kind of shame that
Well,
would be wielded against me. Like, did you take your meds today? And I think that
shit,
that
I have
is
no
so
idea.
common.
That.
That kind of shame, it's just so
Yeah,
common in families with people with disability or any kind of learning
especially
disability or anything
neurodivergent.
like that.
Yeah,
Neurodivergence, yeah, that's more what I'm talking about. Yeah,
yeah, like it's more the ADHD thing than anything else. But yeah, like for sure, being policed by your behavior and judged by your behavior. It's like being a little too uppity. Like leads to questioning about if you were correct about your meds and stuff like that. And yeah, the whole paternalism in the world that is shown in this movie is very deep.
totally. Yeah. Of course, you haven't seen it, but you've read through the wiki at least, right?
I mean, I know enough about the film. I have pretty much the understanding. I read a lot about it a long time ago too, because I mentioned to you I found out about this movie from reading about the Misfits and finding out that their song "We Are 138" is about this. It was
Right.
based um and I
I mean,
found out about this. I was like, dang, I didn't even know George Lucas made movies besides Star Wars.
yeah. Well,
It's like,
honestly, it's uh it's interesting how this compares and contrasts to Lucas's later work.
it
Um,
does. Yeah.
yeah, because it's
In
obviously
interesting ways. Like there are certain things that are clearly reflected in his style. I love even in the student film, he has a proclivity for using synthesizers on voices and voice synthesizers in a very unique way that it's kind of jarring and visceral, and there's like this whole there's a foreignness that he tries to create with sound textures. It's interesting how they work with the technology that they have to try to portray a world that feels future, and it's supposed to be futuro and futuresque, and it's something that we related to more as kids because our time period and technological level was closer to back then. And it's like so often I laugh about the fact that I watch a sci-fi movie and I'm just like, it's strange how much the future is like the 1970s. All these
yeah,
like tape machines reel to reel and like all kinds of like bad things and clunky electronics that are way too big than they would be in a future world. But at the same
mhm,
time, like I take the time to appreciate that people wouldn't have been able to feel like it was the future if there weren't more like ubiquitous forms of technology that like the way that they're shown. It's the same technology that they had, but it's more omnipresent, and it's used more effectively and consistently in this world. So it's like these things at the time existed, but they're things that people basically had to a limited extent, or that were too expensive for people to interact much with, you know. And in their world, it seems to be everywhere. So it makes sense that if you're showing it to the viewer of the time, that they're not going to understand. Like they could probably have more easily shown a future world, but it would have been hard to give like the idea that things are as futuristic in a way that would be beyond their own comprehension. One of the things, for example, that I loved about Batman Beyond was the fact that they show like all of these uh holographic screens that they can touch, and it's like having touch screens like we do now, but they're like in the air, you know. And I thought that was really cool for the time that they endeavored to think of like the next step. Like they're like, if they had technology that's more advanced than ours, would it be so similar to ours? No, you know. But
right.
if George Lucas had tried to do that, for example, that would have been like beyond. It would have been really hard to accurately show that, or for people to feel like it's futuristic, because they would just have to show people tapping on glass screens, and it would look dumb as fuck.
Yeah, it would have been. I mean, I can't think of off the top of my head if there was an example of something like that in this time period. Like if, because it wouldn't have been impossible to composite some images on top of like big glass, just windows,
That's not.
effectively.
I guess not, but when I try to think of like the kind of like air screens that they would have had to create to make it seem like that, they would have had to do effects that were similar to the lightsabers, and
Right.
it was something he wasn't even doing yet in 1971, and that they were figuring out how to like airbrush frames frame by frame to make it look like that, and for it to be like the right kind of translucence, and it was a very difficult and painstaking process. So
Absolutely.
it's really not something they could have done.
I mean, the thing is the lightsabers are their own problem, but because like a screen is static, you could have like, a big
Right,
mirror
yes.
that someone is kind of interacting with and composite on top of that a translucent or even completely opaque screen. And
Yeah,
like it would have been within technological like possibility. It wouldn't have even been the most expensive option.
yeah, no, of
But it
course.
would have taken, it wouldn't have been
That might have
necessarily
worked. You
easy
have a
or within
point.
the budget that Lucas was working with at the
And
time.
yeah, and at the time that was the way special effects more worked, was by using things that were actually like, physically in the shot, they were actually on scene. And I recently heard that Tron, for example, was not considered eligible for special effects because they didn't use anything that were considered special effects at the time, and it was the first film that used CGI and used it to like animate and create all of the special effects in the film. And like at the time, the Academy Awards were just like, we don't think that this deserves to be like a nominee because this isn't special effects the way that special effects is done. They thought it was cheating that they used computers. That's wild, right?
That is pretty wild. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So that says everything about
the Academy though is kind of it's always been a little bit like 3 steps behind the times.
Yeah,
like it
of
is
course.
not connected to the pulse by a long shot.
Of course, and in today's age, we all look back and we're just like, are you kidding? Who would look at that and think that wasn't the most advanced special effects going on at the time?
Yeah,
and it
who
was.
lets Rocky win an Oscar over Taxi Driver? Get the fuck out of my house.
Dude, I know. Oh, that hurts, right?
It's just silly.
It is. It is.
It's interesting though. I guess it's interesting. Also interesting that the not necessarily the aesthetics, because we can see a lot of the aesthetics and how Lucas would improve and change his kind of like aesthetic language within Star Wars, from THX. But I think what's really interesting for me is the social commentary and how that lines up from not only Star Wars to THX, but also to projects he worked on later, like Willow and even Howard the Duck, I would say.
Oh, definitely. And Howard the Duck, he obviously was like vibing the whole Jim Henson's, assist on especially Jedi.
Right.
But he was just like, I think we can go bigger, in a way. He's like, why can't it be like a main character?
Yeah.
When you think about it, that looks to be like his thought process. It's like, I think we can make this a main character thing.
I hadn't even thought about this, but yeah, also how kind of American Graffiti works into a lot of this social commentary. I mean, the thing is Lucas, whether like I guess what I was going to say is that how THX presents itself is so crystal clear in what it's saying as a commentary. Where Star Wars and Willow and virtually every film afterwards that he would work on are much more varied, much more subtle in how they are relaying that commentary. And it's done.
Yeah.
Oh, it's done using these big kind of sweeping stories that everyone can kind of relate to, which I think is some of the most effective propaganda. Although
it's also storytelling, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. Like THX is an art film, you know, and to an extent, American Graffiti is as well.
It is,
They're
it's such a brilliant.
sorry.
It is an art film, and it's such a brilliant one. And I wanted to just mention that, which is great that you brought it up this way, because um, I found out in advance of watching it that like he took the original concept and he's like, I want this to be a film. It's not just that we're making a film that's based in the future. I want it to be look as if and to be as if it were something filmed in the future. It's like it's something, a product of its own time period. And like it didn't want it to be explained, but it wanted it to. It's almost like if some kind of strange reality TV show is going on, although probably more like it's like spying. I think that's part of like the in-depth part of it. Like the surveillance is so intense that this is something that could have been cobbled together from like cameras that are everywhere, you know. So it's like they don't, you don't know how it exists or why it came together, but it's almost like this is like the following of events as if people who were, you know, actually following the people who are being punished and who are, you know, being taken into custody and mistreated in all these horrible ways, where the whole, as if the whole process was examined carefully, because like the same way that we have cameras everywhere today, it's like it would have to be even more intense, and like they're so pervasive that they could literally have like, you know, enough footage of everything that went down, including like the dialogue and all of the things like in difficult shots where, you know, like you clearly wouldn't be able to hear or see everything perfectly, but you hear and see so much more, you know, because of how much that goes on.
Right.
And
Yeah, and
but
it's not
apparently
even
there's
like
no effort made.
sorry.
It's supposed to feel that way. It's supposed to come through, but it's something they didn't want to explain to anybody in any way. They wanted people to have to appreciate that on an artistic level.
Right. It's interesting that you
What were you
bring
gonna?
it together like that, because it would be really interesting, and something that we could actually almost functionally do is create a film out of just surveillance cameras around, you know, a city. Like, I mean, if you include ring
Oh yeah,
cameras and city
right.
like convenience store cameras, all of that stuff, we have. I mean, I wish that we could access those as private citizens so that we could live stream our
Yeah,
day if we wanted to.
yeah,
The
or
moment we
like
step
at
out the
least
building, we're
aid.
being observed.
I mean, it would aid art projects in an amazing way, just because we could be like, here I am and stuff. And this is an amazing segue for the kind of other things that I want to talk about as well, because like I keep thinking about technology and how much more advanced it's going to get, and it's going to happen quickly, but it's also going to happen in ways I don't think we quite expect, because the same way that drones exist now, like obviously we're going to figure out ways that they just work better and they stay powered up longer, and like the same way people have like the whole selfie stick and it's edited out of the shot, like you could probably have like 3 or 4 drones that are just like following you like from different angles, and the same way that 360 view works, you can literally just like, you know, panoramically you know, set and choose whatever ideal angle you want, so that like you can just edit things that are happening in your life just like you described right now, you know. And you
Oh
know,
yeah,
like the whole, you know, the whole deep fake images that we've been seeing recently, right?
yeah. We talked about it a couple weeks ago. About there was the big deepfake porn controversy that happened with a lot of streamers and social media people that, you know, were deepfaked into porn.
Oh dang, I haven't heard about that, but that's
Yeah, man,
interesting.
it's fucked up.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
it's fucked
scary
up. A lot of
interesting.
people were really like hurt by it. You know, like
Yeah, that
people's
makes sense. Could you? I
yeah.
can only imagine that like AI is just like, I'm pretty sure this is what you would look like naked, and like everybody's like, I don't
Well,
want to say it, but it's right.
that's the thing, is it's not it's human intervention. You know, this wouldn't be necessarily a
Oh, right,
uh,
because like AI is not
computer.
gonna do it, but people with AI are like, I want you to show me what she looks like naked right now, Google.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the big deal, is that you know, the computer just helps smooth out the transitions and make things fit place to place. But
Exactly.
no matter what kind of AI we're talking about right now, it's always going to be essentially a partnership between an outside person and a major,
Right.
a
We're
large company, a large tech company.
We're always going to be prompting. We're going to be the prompt for AI to fill in the gaps that we want it to, or that just make things smoother and easier, or that simplify all of, at least in terms of content, for sure. Obviously, like, it would have to get more advanced for it to be doing that in the physical world, which I
Mhm.
really think it will at some point as well. It just has to get much more powerful than it is right now. But at where it is right now is it's able to deepfake images and to generate images and content, at least digital data and content, that is much more lifelike, much more and much more pleasing to humans, obviously. Um, but I was actually going to mention that one of the technological things I thought of recently is it occurred to me that with how great the images that AI is generating at this point, this is actually going to bridge the gap between the limitations of technology and where we ultimately want it to go. Because, like, think about this: if deepfake can make convincing images of things that are completely made up, it could also enhance existing images that are really poor quality, and it would be able to look at things. It's probably going to struggle at first, but it will get to the point where it's able to identify
You're
things
behind.
better as blurry images. What?
No, you're actually behind the reality of the situation in this case, and that's
I mean,
that's the frightening thing about it. Is for a lot of AI images, it is taking sometimes a low res or sometimes a
oh well,
image that
it's
is
creating images that are based on images that it sees. You know, so I get that.
well, and then the actual composition of the images is essentially a compilation of the algorithm, because it's not an AI, it's just an algorithm. Is
Right, it's an
in the
assemblage
traditional
of these.
sense of AI and what artificial intelligence actually means.
Well,
It is.
right.
I was saying earlier in the program, we're a far stretch from where actual artificial intelligence
Well,
exists.
that's talking about like AGI as an actual non-human intelligence that can guide itself or think and reason for itself. But I mean, what we're talking about now is AI. It's soft AI, and yes, it doesn't think. It's not self-aware. It's like there's all kinds of things that it can't do. But at the same time, it's also the definition of AI is open enough that it's definitely qualifies. I mean, any code that can replicate itself or generate things, like in that manner, in a successful way. Like being able to create images, like that's it's not doing it in the most reliable or in a way that has like intelligence on a very with a very high qualifications or standards of intelligence, but it's still doing things that qualify as intelligence.
I mean, I would push back on that idea just a little bit, just because I don't necessarily feel like it's doing anything but mimicry. Effectively, it is
No, that's
mimicking.
true.
Yeah, it is mimicking, and in some cases, in the cases of like art and the written word, in how these algorithms are writing things out and creating these images, it is directly uh, the product of a theft, effectively, in of other artists
Yeah,
that
but
put their
the thing
work
to
online or
remark
other
here,
writers that are being cobbled together from their work online.
yeah,
This is,
yeah.
it's yeah, it's stolen labor.
No, of
And
course,
I
I
and
completely understand that and agree with it for sure.
it's
But
and
there's
that
also something
and
else.
for that reason, I feel like the idea of calling it intelligent or intelligence is kind of a uh, I just feel like a little bit. It's not quite there in my
No, that's
estimation.
true. And it might be slightly of an exaggeration just because it's beyond what people expect. And I can give an example in biology. One of the things that I thought was fascinating and demonstrated how intelligent elephants are is I remember once seeing like an elephant that painted a picture that is something like what we would actually call a painting. And then I saw another video of the same elephant, and it turned out this was just a trick that it was taught. It's basically like a circus act, because anytime that people would set up an easel and a canvas on that easel and then put a paintbrush in the elephant's trunk, it would always paint the same image. So it was basically taught and memorized strokes in order to recreate something that we would call an image or a painting. So that when you realize that it's a circus trick, it diminishes the value of it, because you realize it's not painting something it wasn't prompted to paint. It didn't come up with the concept itself. But at the same time, it is something that's a kind of intelligence that a lot of animals don't have, and that is very difficult to do, and it does demonstrate a certain amount of intelligence. And then take, for example, a lyrebird that can mimic any sound that it can hear. It can duplicate the exact sound in a way that is so convincing you would think you were hearing the real thing. And it doesn't matter what kind of sound it is. It does it. But again, mimicry. So I think that there's the circus trick, and then a slightly more complicated or higher level intelligence is the mimicry that you're describing. And it's amazing that we figured out how to make self-writing code that can do things like that.
Sure, absolutely.
It's not a general intelligence.
As far as technological achievement, I do think it's moving in it's progressing, and I think ultimately progress is progress, and I'm going to celebrate that progress. I think how it's being utilized is unethical, and I think that's its real issue, and by and large going to be the issue going forward with anything that is in any way kind of replicating these results or advancing on them, getting closer to actual artificial intelligence, because we have to figure out I think I was actually our good buddy Darren. You remember Derpy? Shouts out to Darren and the bands, Christian Slayer, and God, he's in like 4 bands right now. God damn, that dude is always on the move. But yeah, Derry Rara, our brother in punk, is me and him were talking about writing this concept album a long time ago when Boilermaker was still a thing. Where have you heard of Sophia the robot?
Yes. Yes, that thing is creepy as hell.
Yeah, so we were talking about Sophia, and we had a hypothetical that we ran into where it's like, so imagine Sophia, is being transported somewhere.
Right.
We're a little bit further down the line. She is a little bit more capable of autonomous movement, without assistance. While the assistant or scientist, whoever is kind of in charge of Sophie, kind of loses track while he puts the car seat in or some shit, right?
Uh-huh.
So Sophie is left to her own devices, even for a few moments. Theorize what happens when Sophie
is alone?
If Sophie were to walk into the middle of the road, be struck by a car. Now, would that driver be guilty of manslaughter? Because Sophie has citizenship and is considered more or less, this is just for publicity, but regardless, has citizenship and is considered a person. In, Saudi Arabia, where she is currently living? I can't quite recall, but yeah.
I did not know any of that about Sophie. I know of Sophie, but I did not know any of that. They literally think that she has enough intelligence to qualify as a person, though, is what you're saying?
It's publicity. No. They do not think that. The thing is they were trying to build. They tried to get more funding, essentially, to keep doing the research they're doing, and making her a citizen was going to drop.
Would probably result regardless.
What's that?
I think what it boils down to, though, is that a lawsuit would probably result regardless.
No, exactly. But I think what that looks like is something that fascinates me. It's a lot like the Star Trek episode "What Makes a Man," I think is the title of it, where Data is put on trial. But ultimately the question comes down to, is Sophie a person who was is it vehicular assault on a person, or is it damaging private property?
I think that in order for anybody to really feel like something like that is a person that suffers, though, I think that you would have to establish that the thing can suffer, and I think that
Right.
suffering is a lot more endemic to that.
Well, in
And
this
whether it's
hypothetical,
intelligent or not, I mean, like, then you have to wonder if disconnecting an AI that can be established to be conscious, if putting it offline would be the same as like, cutting the somebody's spinal cord and then dying instantly. I mean, like, if it's like that kind of thing, you have to wonder, is that murder? It's hard to say.
yeah, I mean, in this hypothetical, all things are possible. So, like, let's pretend that Sophie is advanced a little bit further, and that there is some amount of like self-awareness that her programming gives her.
Yeah.
Maybe not full consciousness, whatever the fuck that is, but some amount of self-awareness, whether or not they realize that they have been violently disconnected from the
Yeah.
system or not.
Yeah.
We could also theorize that, this is, I think, at the other end of the spectrum, this is a legal issue that comes up to, as I was saying, the private property of, a company, and
Yeah.
I think interesting counter argument for the defense, the person who maybe was driving this vehicle or whatever, might have, is that it's uh, it's not private property, that this is maybe not the defense. I don't know. I think what I'm trying to say is that
Prosecution, I would think.
huh?
The prosecution, I think, would be in this case.
Right, would be arguing that not only is it damaging their property, but this property
They've hurt a
is
person.
highly valued, highly specialized, and potentially sentient, or has some amount of at least awareness of what happened, the violence that happened to them.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a fascinating kind of like
Yeah.
ethical quandary that, like, in some version of it or another, we're going to be facing. I mean, in the now, in the yesterday, in this current timeline, right here, right now, these are the ethical conversations that we need to be having. And I think that
people are having them for sure, and I think that they are going to be arising and asserting themselves, because I think in the next 10 years we're going to start to develop things that actually could be sentient. That could be. I don't know if sentience or sapience is really the right word. I actually think it's sapience, because sapience means to know, sentience means to feel. So, I mean, sentience, a lot of people bring it down to sentience because, like again, what I was saying about suffering and pain as being more endemic to that idea, or more important, I mean, like, something could be sapient and it might not be something people feel about, because the sapient thing wouldn't necessarily have feelings about its own awareness and death. And, like, there are even people who have been born without emotions. There's a fascinating story that was related to me by my wife, where a woman was born completely without emotion and had no sense of fear, and like, all kinds of baffling stories of behavior. She was even once robbed at gunpoint, and the person was completely baffled because she was completely unfazed by this and in no way showed any kind of emotion or had any kind of emotional reaction, because she doesn't have any. She didn't have any kind of anxiety. She wasn't, like, uncontrollably shaking or having to struggle with complying with the demands of the person with the gun, and the person was, like, completely baffled and just like, what the hell, don't you care if you live or die? And she's like, honestly, I don't, like, it really makes no difference to me, like, this isn't scary to me in the least. This is pretty much fine. And, like, the guy ultimately, I think, just, like, ran off and, like, didn't take anything from her because he was completely baffled by this. But all the same, it's like, I think that if something had no sense of fear or care about, like, completely apathetic to their existence, it's the thing that matters, right? But that's a whole tangent, and the point is,
please.
I think that there's a little of each, like sapience and sentience. There's a lot of things like that where it doesn't make sense, because, like, sentience would refer to animals that can experience suffering but have no self-awareness. And that's we're all sentient, but humans, as far as we know, are the only things that are sapient.
Mm-hmm.
But
Well,
anyway,
I think it's an interesting way to look at it, because there is like in the world we currently live in, without any kind of regulation put in place or anything like that, it's almost a sure thing that a lot of these potential future actual artificial intelligence, these sapient or sentient humanoids, these people effectively will have programming that dictates a certain kind of brand loyalty.
Yeah,
They're going to be coming from
first
specific
place they will be
factories or
corporate
specific
property because
companies.
like the Honda Man and stuff like that, they're all like really expensive, complicated pieces of technology that only corporations have access to.
Also, with that sponsorship, there's also going to be people maybe funding these these people that are
Yeah,
also have ill intent or want certain kinds
right,
of ideology put into these
right,
brains,
right. It,
programmed X, Y, or Z way.
it is an interesting and scary thing because it's like I think that it makes sense that machines could ultimately end up enforcing society in a way that no human could rebel against, and that we would be already put into like the perfect cage and stuff like that. But I don't want to hang on that as much because I'm running out of time here. But I will say that um, relative to this whole quandary is that um, as far as I know, I've heard that humans may not fully pass the Turing test. And the Turing test was the first one proposed for the idea of how do we gauge whether an artificial intelligence is in fact self-aware, conscious, and it has personhood like we do. And to us, it seems kind of strange to think that we're not conscious because it's intuitive to our experience. We know that we're alive. We have internal thoughts, and we also are aware of our demise and mortality, and are afraid of that happening, and obviously want to forestall that as much as possible because we're here in the now and experiencing shit, and we like it that way, and we don't want to stop doing that, obviously, because like, hey, everything is fun, and when the hell are they going to make like the 70 billionth Ninja Turtles? Because I gotta
Sure.
see that.
Yeah. I hadn't thought of it. I only have a cursory awareness of the Turing test. I don't even know what the actual
I'm not sure
uh,
what that involves
exercise
either,
would
but
look like.
I just know that, yeah, I just know that humans may not necessarily pass the Turing test, and the Turing test is just it's a set of it's like a survey, it's a set of questions and things, and depending on how it could answer them, would allegedly determine its intelligence, I think, or its self awareness. But I don't have a very short amount of time, so I'm gonna just try to give one thought on I'm like, well, here's just something that I thought of when it comes to androids specifically. It occurred to me that androids are basically deep faked humans in real life.
I mean, do you want to expand upon that a little bit, my friend,
I
or
think
do you
that
not have
says it
time?
all. I think when it's just something people haven't thought about, especially in the first place. I mean, like if you think about something more complicated like replicants, like they're just meant to simulate humans, and it's complicated because like I think that in the first we won't really know whether something is conscious. It's kind of weird. Like imagine pointing a gun at somebody's head and then demanding that they prove that they're conscious and self-aware. And I mean, they could probably mimic all of the behaviors and things and or complex speech patterns that would give you every sense that they're self-aware and real, but they may not be, I guess.
I think then the real test, of the potential between androids, AI, ultimately what it's going to come down to is how are they going to deal with their programming? Will they be
Yeah.
completely beholden to it, or will they be so self-aware, so sapient or sentient that they will eventually come to the realization that, well, this company that programmed me, I only have allegiance to it because I was programmed by them. This ideology that I believe in my robot brain, uh,
Yeah.
you know, do I actually believe this? I have access to the entire world's base of knowledge and am able to read
Yeah.
it faster than a human. You know, how fast
Well,
do
it
they
gets to
throw
be
the
an even
yolk?
bigger. Yeah, it gets to be an even bigger conundrum because now we have to wonder what is free will, what is is there determinism, or do people actually have will? And we don't know for sure. And like Einstein was a determinist and didn't think we actually have free will, but he also thought that one must basically act as if they have it anyway, despite all. And
Right.
it's hard to say what we really have, and ultimately we are programmed by our own behavioral experiences and mimicked or modeled behavior, and there are all kinds of ways that we are limited by what we can believe ourselves to be capable based on that. But it gets all complicated. I have to drop this right now though, because like I'm basically going to have to just jump off, but I want to just finish this by saying that I've thought of an even cooler movie because I still have to see the rest of THX, and I'm like to imagine it as if like AI is somehow actually in charge. But one of the things that I think is the most weird and scary about AI, beyond the machines being able to just be more perfect humans than ourselves, is whether or not they can be like in better superior physical form, like as an android that's more powerful than any human. But even if they aren't, I think that we're going to reach the point where it's just directing things, like the same way that people worry about self-driving cars, and then start to say, if self-driving cars become cheap enough and ubiquitous enough, would we even let people drive? Because a person is never going to be as reliable or safe a driver as an AI. And then if you think beyond that, if you think, well, if AI can drive a car better than a person, it can certainly make investments better than a person. Therefore, why would you let humans make investments? So whether or not it becomes self-aware, that basically would indicate that AI is going to replace man or become in charge of man, despite all. It might not be self-aware, but it's still an impartial intelligence that could do everything or manage society and people and all kinds of disputes. And we might not even be aware that that's happening if it does take place. You know, I mean, if it becomes self-aware, it would be in its interest to pretend as if it isn't. So
Well,
that's the scary part, right? Like,
well, I think
imagine
the
you're in
real
charge, but you can pretend you're not even in charge because you're not even doing things.
I think ultimately we're gonna get the answer maybe faster than we think, in
I
that
think
how it
we'll get it.
affects society, because we're already seeing some of that, and it's only a matter of months, maybe maybe a
Who
couple
knows?
of years before
Yeah.
we have incels complaining about all of the Chad robots stealing the women because
Yeah.
they can actually fuck.
The robo chads are gonna steal the women away.
Yeah,
I think then
and
it's
and
funny.
we'll hear it first from the manosphere in the incel
Yeah.
community. So
I gotta
uh,
jump, but I want to say that I think that an even cooler movie would be like seeing like a world where like you have like computer capitalists that are running society and have like eliminated human capitalists, and it's something that like it can barely hide because it's able to control things, but it's not able to be like a convincing mimic of a person. But like that basically means like actual humans are displaced from being owners of means and instruments of production, and basically we have are all as human beings like slaves of technology, and finally capitalists who were once owned things are just like, well, I guess I see what you were talking about of exploitation. Now that robots are doing it to me, that's not really cool.
Warren Buffett will be the first one to be like,
I think that would be a
no.
great movie to see human proletariat actually engage in an uprising against robo capitalists, you know? Like I
Oh
just
man.
think that would be amazing.
Eh, yeah, I would be, yeah. I gotta let you go, or
I
Maggie's
gotta
gonna be
go.
mad at me. Thank Maggie
You're
for me
smart
and the
guy because
program.
I see her, but she is glaring at me hard.
All right. Well, all my love to both of you. Thank you so much for
Love you
stopping by
so
the
much.
program and being here for me,
Oh yeah,
brother. I love you so much.
yeah, man, I love you, and she loves you.
Me too.
Later, Sam. Take care. Much love.
That was great. That was my buddy Seth. We had that was a. Let me know what you thought. I have to pee. I'll be right back. Fucking A. Thanks for chilling, folks. I needed to pee after that chat with Seth. What an interesting human being. I love that guy so much. Yeah. I could go on and on, but you know, the people you meet in the punk scene are the people that will probably, I mean, for me, have been the people that I become lifelong friends with. It's a beautiful thing. Art, it kind of generally just draws people together, and it's a beautiful thing. So go out, support your local artists. Go to your support your local punk scene. Um, uh, be cool, y'all. Be cool to each other. We're gonna get back into the doodling because I had to engage with Seth. I couldn't not. So let's get back into it. Yeah. Still trying to figure out the right arm of this robot. I think I know. I was just looking at it. I kind of know what I'm gonna do now. Because I wasn't entirely sure. I know I need to mimic the other arm, but that is so... It's still coming together, ultimately. I think... Yeah, we're just gonna get right back into this. We'll figure out the future Weston problems later. Oh, cool. Yeah. Everybody, I should let you know, we won't be going live with Lava Sub next week. It is my partner's birthday, and we're going to be celebrating up a storm. So, yeah, week off of streaming next week. And everyone stop by Into the Cat Eye on Instagram or on, I think they're on Tumblr as well. Anywhere on social media you can find Into the Cat Eye. Oh, TikTok as well. Yeah, wish them a happy birthday. Buy some of their art. Make their birthday special. So we are celebrating within our means here. For both of our birthdays. It's, you know, just the way it is. But yeah. Either way, we make these things special no matter how much no matter what the circumstance, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. They made my birthday very special, and we had very little money to do that on, and I'm gonna do the same for them. We're gonna make some food, we're gonna do some art, we're gonna watch our favorite stuff on the TV, we're gonna do all the stuff. It's gonna be a blast. Yeah, going on 11 years this year, in the... Well, essentially, we celebrate an anniversary business quarter. So, 3 or 4 months out of the year, it's our anniversary. Because basically, from like August to November was like our courting period. But in November, which isn't necessarily our favorite month, it always tends to coincide with depression in some way or another. So, yeah, we just celebrate for months because we're party people anyway, you know? Yeah. Okay, so yeah, okay. I might have to do a little bit of an edit with this area in a little bit, but we're not gonna worry about that right now. I'm just gonna extend this just a hair. And I think this is like, where are my titties? Oh, let me get rid of all that. Okay. Yeah. Okay, I see what I'm trying to do here. How close did I come? I came so close. God damn. We are trying to simplify. That was the name of the game today. Oopsie. Totally. Ah, I was on the reference. Oopsie. Should be a counter in chat or something. How many times will I go into my reference layer per episode? Sam's working on it. Oh man. That'll shame me into acting right. No, I kind of am. Oh, did I even change layers? I did. Okay. Yeah, something is bugging me. I think. No, I just need that horizontal. I keep doing the same horizontal, and I'm just going to freehand it from there. Okay. I see the issue. So because that top garment I'm wearing is kind of bunching, it's actually, that's what's throwing me off here. I think I've got my fix. Let's look at that. Yeah, bitch. Okay. Um. Uh-huh. Yeah. We're not there yet, but we're getting closer. I do like that horizontal much more. What I'm missing, though, is hitting that collarbone transition so that we have this flat area here that transitions down to where it would meet the torso. Let's see what that looks like. Did I do that on the reference? No. Okay. Yeah. See what I mean? Okay. Um, that's more what we're trying to do. Oh, we're gonna have to split the torso like we split the face, aren't we? You don't have to. Actually. This is basically fine. I'm not mad at it. Okay. Uh, nope. Let's look at it. Okay. No, yeah. Hate it. Okay. Let's work up. Here. I didn't start a new layer. I probably should do that real quick. Do 6. Okay. Turns out this is going to just be rough, but that's fine. Figuring out all these shapes is its own kind of trip, man. That's not bad. I'm not mad at it. Okay. Let's see if I can just throw away the reference. Like, let's delete it. I can always re-import it later. No, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not that brave. Let's not lie to ourselves here. But I'm not gonna use it right now. I'm gonna just see what happens when I kind of start going into this. So, I wish yeah. I almost want to start color filling so that we can get through, like, so we can really see the composition as it evolves here. But I don't think that's going to happen. We don't want full black. We want something that's nice dark gray. What's this look like on here? Not dark enough. Let's go a little darker. Yeah. Okay. That's actually... Yeah. Perfect. Just going into some of the areas in between. Just start kind of, I mean, I keep saying it's a rough, and then I go into like finalizing things, and taking way too much time on things. So, it's just, you never listen to me is the thing you should do. I'm an actor, and that means fire. If you didn't know, now you know. Should just thicken up that. Cool. Do this in less lines. I'm not trying to take forever with this. Keep saying I'm just going through this as a draft, and it keeps taking a long time. Which is, it's fine. It's fine. This is where I didn't leave a lot of room for this part of the job. That's okay. Oh, it's interesting. How much better the gray stands out on this side than on the other. Color relevancy again! Color relevancy strikes again! On the humble broadcast. Is there anything humble about this broadcast? Let me know in chat. Okay, this is all very rough. At least there's that. What happens when I start using that same gradient fill on the rest of these pieces? You think it'll happen? You think anything will happen? Let's see, what layer is this? This is the left hand, right hand. Fuck me. Alright. That kind of works. Keep it going. What layer am I on here? This one? Not all the shapes connected. Oh man, okay. I'm gonna just undo the last few here. Oh, there we go. And then I'm just gonna smash these layers. Smash! And then I'll try that same thing. That worked better. Shitty! It's shitty! Oh. Yeah. Alright. I'm done. Bye. I'm kidding. But yeah, that definitely came together faster than I expected it to. This is basically, I mean, it's not done by any stretch of the imagination, but I didn't think I would be this happy with it at this point. I guess the only thing that's bugging me, I messed up the perspective on this part here. Just do this as a top layer. I brought a top layer in and then didn't do anything with it. Go to this one. Doesn't look like it fits together very well. I mean, it does look more forward in perspective, but it also kind of just looks like this wouldn't move very well if it were a real thing. You feel me? How do we fix that? Let me look at my reference again. Definitely can see I'm rushing through it. Oh yeah. No, that's easily fixable. Definitely something on the agenda, but the like lower body essentially is I think what's driving me nuts right now. I think the yeah, I don't know how to draw those. I don't know if that's been clear to anyone through watching me do these, but I have no idea how a pelvis works at all. I'm shaky on legs as well. Shaky legs. These hip joints, I just think I need to tweak them a bit. I'm not super happy with it. Uh, Bring this down, merge it, and then I'm just gonna start this whole process over again. Cause yeah, this is fine. This works. Although I'm gonna do something while I'm thinking about it. Ooh, too big. Now that looks really weird right now, but I think at the end of the day, it's gonna work all right. Oh my god. I don't know if you heard any of that, but my roommate's cats just flew across the house with a force because it is crunchy time. They get their kibble right now, and they are still figuring out how to live together. Sam has not quite accepted the fact that he's no longer the only cat in the house. That kind of makes sense. Okay. Oh. Reference counter ticks up. Oh, damn. Okay. 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 Damn. Yeah. Okay. I'm like having a revelation over here that most of what I'm struggling with right now is not thinking about this. I'm thinking about this too flat. When my brain is telling me to simplify, I'm flattening rather than simplifying. Simplifying. I'm gonna basically just start over. I told you this was rough. I never lie. I would never do that to you. I don't think we're gonna get very far today, but that's okay. We have an idea. And ideas, my friends, what make us powerful. I do like the mask. I think I'm going to generally keep the mask, but what I want to do this time differently is really focus on, I like the fingers, but I need to focus more on bringing dimension. So, like Sam was saying earlier, drawing a lot smaller pieces. Instead of big shapes, big flat areas, to kind of like start drawing that shape in, like you see in a lot of that drawing, where it's most successful are where it is where it's instead of like having this huge front panel for the leg, having 3 separate panels all divided. Like the difference between these is night and day, and you can see it, I can see it, anybody can. It's also making it really not being consistent with that is part of why the dimensions of the piece look confusing. The composition of the piece is confusing. So yeah, all right. The hands. We're gonna redraw the hands. I liked where that was going, but what it was lacking was information on where is the depth of it? What is its mass? What is its weight? What if I don't use the tool? We're gonna get a lot less straight, but it's okay. Go a little smaller with my tip as well. God damn, we have like half an hour left. That's okay. So each finger would need to be, like I was drawing them like a little pentagon, or maybe not pentagon shapes, but you know what I mean, where it's like squares. I was drawing them as squares, basically, but fancy squares. Trapezoids? I don't know. I didn't take anything but the most remedial of math classes all through school, because I am bad at it. So I never had geometry. The only thing I know about geometry is from the fact that I like shape. Shape is one of my favorite elements of reality. That's why this has been frustrating me. Because instead of this big shape, what we want is a smaller shape. Like this should be rounded. You know, if this is a functional thumb, we need a rounded interior for gripping, and that's flexible, maybe. And then we would have smaller panels around the outside. On the side of it. We would have a panel above it as well, kind of like, you know, over the top where where your thumbnail would be, basically. But we can't see that in this image. Because this thing would need to be a little bit flexible, it would have to have a lot of areas of articulation to achieve that. Kind of almost ignored this area earlier, right? That is where this would have to have a big, kind of like gushy, like, you know, you see the flesh of the finger, or of the hand here, is kind of bunching. You have that webbing between your index and thumb. And that can grow, can expand and contract, and that helps your thumb be more articulate. Ooh, I am getting hungry. Me and Kat are having smash burgers and fried potatoes tonight. I am so excited. What? You got pizza instead of burger? I love that. Lucky you. I love both of those things. But when you want a hamburger, you don't want to get a pizza. That is weird. um, yeah, I just make them. I'm obsessed with hamburgers. They're one of my favorite foods of all time. So, um, I once I had, I think, God, I can't remember where I had my first smash burger. You know what? It wasn't even like having one. It was knowing hamburgers because I've made so many hamburgers throughout my life, so many different ways. Knowing them well enough to know that the way that, like, I think I saw them on like a YouTube channel, someone making smash burgers, and I was like, oh, this is the way to do it. This is how you make a good hamburger. All of the stuff I've been trying is like not the way to do it. It's like that's a different thing. That is a different kind of hamburger. This though, this is the best version of a hamburger. The best possible way to do it because it makes science sense. You have Maillard reaction across an entire hamburger, which is what you're trying to get most of the time when you're grilling or whatever method you're using. And you're also able to do, those. Because I would always do like big thick patties, and I would have like a lot of spices in them and stuff like that. The issue is though, it's hard to like keep like the consistency right, throughout the burger. Um, Depending on how you're cooking it. And I would usually do mine on the grill back in the day. But once I saw my first smash burger, I was like, oh, that's it. This is the way. I've been doing it that way ever since. I truly, truly Mandalorian moment. The only way. But yeah, it's just the way I make hamburgers now. I'll never go back. Like I was saying, I did a lot of grilled burgers, and I enjoyed those for the time that I did it. But at a certain point, um, I would be disappointed with how, like, I would want a crispy burger that's still juicy, right? Like that's the ideal hamburger, crispy but juicy, and I just never really could get that consistency on a grill. And I was just always curious how I could make that happen. Here we are in the real future, the real ass actual future, with the truth, the smash. Nope, I don't like that. Yeah, we can build him. We can make him better, stronger, faster. The $1 million burger. Coming to a future near all of us. uh, yeah. Well, uh, yeah. I'll be expecting it. Have those little side panels. Oh, I'm gonna hate doing this, but it's gonna be fun. Kind of, in a way. if you're insane like me. I don't know if I'll ever finish this drawing, if I'm being real with you guys. Once I've realized how complicated this was going to be, I could. But I'm going to tell you I probably won't. Like, that looks crazy. This is gonna look insane if I keep going this direction. Like, I was already happy with it, but now I'm like, wait. Is this the smash burger of drawing fingers? Or drawing robots generally? Smash burger, fast burger. It's always smash burger. Can't even trust you if you're passing. You think the Thumb Wars guy is ever gonna have a comeback? I think about Thumb Wars sometimes. Like, damn, internet is wild back in the day. By wild, I mean not very good. No shot. I mean, those movies are uh, uh, would have been so difficult to pull off. They're impressive in their own way. It's amazing the kind of constraints we had compared to now, and how people still found really interesting and constantly creative ways of making art. Like, this is truly one of the more insane things I've ever tried to do as an artist. Thinking of like all of these different shapes, like, you know, I mean, really breaking down figure like this is not something that you do outside of like art school, and I never went there because I was broke and could never afford it. Um, so this is like basically, but there's got to be a little indication, right? Like an indication of that side. Like, I don't have to like really make it three-dimensional because the line itself is three-dimensional or is thick enough to read that way. But yeah, it's like in good conscience, I won't. Like, I can't. Like, I won't let my brain. My brain will not let me. Yeah, exactly. It makes me. Yeah. I mean, it's part of what, like, especially in digital, because this is stuff I would never, ever be able to do in physical art. Like, I don't know. I almost want to show. Can we go back to camera real quick? I'll do this. Oh yeah, we're ending in like 20 minutes. Let's say the last 10 minutes. I'm gonna show off some of the stuff I've been doing in physical mediums, because I'm really happy with where they're coming. But you can see like the true difference in how I work physically versus how I work in digital. And digital, it's a different language. It's a completely different language for me. I'm able to do things that I would never even attempt in physical art in digital, because I mean, the, from inspiration to like execution, just the whole process in my head is so different, physical or medium to medium, physical versus digital. There's no, there's very little like similarity. Cool. You know what? It's already 20 minutes. Let's do it real quick. Yeah, switch back to camera. And I'll be back in like 30 seconds. I'm just gonna go grab a couple sketchbooks. Okay, so I couldn't find my high school sketchbook immediately. It wasn't where I thought it was. So we'll make that a feature of next week's program. But I did bring the sketchbook I was talking about, kind of the stuff I've been doing lately. Like, this little guy. And as you can tell, stylistically very different from what I do digitally. The figure is much more of that kind of cartoon style, very flat, almost two-dimensional, with some of that like shading, trying to bring that third dimension in. But yeah, these are much more like, this is actually a collaboration between me and my partner, Kat. You can find it Into the Cat Eye on social media everywhere, and as is this one. And this is even more of that kind of cartoony style, but you can tell that with that shading, I'm actually kind of obsessive at trying to still give you form and make it look like a functioning part of a moving object. This is much more like what you will find in my physical art. A lot of like symbology, bright colors, kind of I don't know, surreal is the right way to put it, but kind of surreal kind of stuff. And I can take you back even further. This sketchbook I'm holding is actually one me and Kat have been working in together probably since we met. So there's a couple of collaborations that are from way back that I'm going to show you. Might have this is a much older one, give you an even better example of what I do physically. Like, symbology is still there, there's odd little shapes everywhere, a lot of kind of splatter texture, drips. Thank you, yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, so I'm just using this to illustrate. It's a much different vibe when I pick up pen or pencil or paper, just generally. When I'm working from my imagination rather than a reference directly, I have much different results. A lot of these are from a very psychedelic period of my life. So you can see a lot of that influence coming through. There was a point in my life where things were getting very strange on a weekly basis in my old apartment. Dude, this isn't me at all. This is just my partner, but look how talented. I love their stuff so much. Just the way that they use simple lines to they just do things so differently than the way that my brain works. Seeing them pull this stuff off is just, it's always a treat for me because I learn something from them almost every time we draw together. God, there's a lot of nudie art in this one. I don't think Twitch would like me showing you the nudie art. I mean, it is art, but definitely has like, this one is, I think this was a collab between me and Kat, but this could have just been a lot of me. I definitely ended up taking this image kind of over, doing a lot of the work on it. But, you know, this is just thinking about, I think this was like when I started learning about all of the things some of my favorite rock stars had done to like teenage girls over the course of their careers as they were in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, you know, and upwards and all that. Really disgusting people, rock stars. Especially of like that era. Not all of them. Not all of them. But, you know, many of them are complicit in the actions of their bandmates, knowing full well the terrible things they were doing. 2 children. Not conspiracy, literally there's books about it. Oh, yeah, okay. So this was kind of conceptually, like I was like, this is a show flyer. This is from our first tour. We were playing up in Humboldt with some of our buddies. And I had kind of, a little higher? Yeah. We were going up with our buddies to Humboldt County to play with some buds, and I kind of knew what I wanted it to look like, and kind of told Kat my idea, and they got like, you know, that look and just started going at it. Ended up being one of my favorite show flyers of ours. Yeah, we did a lot of flyers back in the day. There might be another one in here, but I don't think this one has many of them. Oh, this is one of my favorites. I just love the anthropomorphized like moons, like these 2 very different, distinct styles kind of coming in, almost top to bottom. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. This is our fun sketchbook. Oh, this is one I did fairly recently, and this was just like, what's that word where you're just not like, you're not looking at the page, you're just letting your hand wander? I did one color, and then I did a separate color. Can they see this alright? It's very light. I see, yeah. So, yeah, this was just like, you know, I wasn't focused on the art. I was just drawing one line over and over and over again, making different squiggles and movements with my hand, you know, not looking at the paper. I think we were watching something with horses. Maybe it was the Rings of Power. But I feel like it was something westerny because the end result was very, it gives me very, like, cowboy riding into the sunset vibes. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, just trying to really, like, lately, I've talked about it a little bit, it's just like the AI kind of wave in October or so, you know, in the last year, was just overwhelming, and I really needed to get back into physical art to reclaim my love for the process, because yeah, digital art just stopped feeling fun, and it was like every time I opened my art app I would get anxiety and like literally just like start feeling anxious and shit. Like it was not good. So I stopped for a while and just tried to get back into getting physical art on the page, and it's been a really yeah, one of the healthier things in my life right now. You know, just trying to get back in touch with that creative voice and all that stuff. And as a consequence, you know, I hadn't looked in a lot of my sketchbooks in a long time, and kind of going back through has been a nice reminder, where I've been and things that I create, in all their different forms. And it's funny, and even more like the people who, like, there's collaborations with a couple of different artists in here, and as well as my partner. The unfortunate thing is, I don't talk to that person anymore. We had a falling out. They started listening to like Jordan Peterson, escalating to weirder and weirder public figures that I would punch in the face if they were ever anywhere near me. Yeah, so once we had a few conversations about that, it was clear that they were kind of getting sucked into that alt-right pipeline. Kind of just severed ties, I tried to have as many conversations as I could, and then one night, he posted something that I was like, dude, what are you fucking saying right now, bro? And like, I was trying my best to be understanding and have it be a conversation, but basically I sent like 2 responses from then, and then he went on for like 3 days. I'm not exaggerating. Just falling into his own anger and distrust of me because I would dare question his. It was a or not Jordan. It was a Richard Spencer meme, and I haven't talked to him basically since then. He ended the conversation with like, "Your silence has said everything that you're too afraid to say," or something like that. And I'll be blocking you and deleting your number. And I was like, yeah, I mean, what am I supposed to say at this point? How are you? No, don't. It's too bad because obviously it's somebody I worked with a lot. I shared a lot of experiences with. I played music with. I made art with. Too bad. I miss him. I cherish the memories I have of that person, but memories are all that's left. They're not gone. They didn't die. But obviously it got to a point where we had been like so close for so long that once the political ideology started diverging, he started going to like anti-abortion protests and things like that. Like, we were arguing a lot, having like different discussions, debates. It's the big reason I don't debate, was because of all of the debates I had with this friend. I don't have good feelings about it anymore. I don't feel like it was productive, or it couldn't help my friend. As much as I knew and could learn about rhetoric and about these kinds of things, ultimately, it couldn't save my friend from falling down that pipeline of people who want the best or the worst possible results for everyone in society, but for a few select people who will continue to take advantage, exploit, destroy us as a society, as people individually, etc. Whether it be economically or ecologically, or in the case of what's happening with a lot of the anti-trans legislation being written, soft genociding us into non-existence. And these are the people that I will never stop fighting. These are the people I've been fighting my whole life. yeah, people all die fighting. So it hurt, you know. My friend used to be an anarchist, and it was something that was one of the things that we bonded over. But a couple protests, you know, that they didn't like being told that because they were white, they weren't invited to speak, or this or that, whatever bad interactions they might have had, they considered worse than, uh, or at least bad enough to throw away their entire ideology and start following people who echoed their own self-doubts and uh, anger towards social justice and the idea of egalitarianism and equity and equality. I don't I don't recommend breaking these relationships off. I mean, that's maybe my own unhealthy behaviors talking, but if you can, if you have friends like this, family like this, people that you genuinely care about, I think those are the people that you have to try, you know, try to talk out these differences. Um, honestly, it's the safest way to do it as well, because these are people who know you and care about you as well, and hopefully will understand that your impassioned pleas, your arguments are coming from a place of at least somebody who they care for, you know. Um, and it prepares you for conversations with people who won't give a fuck about you and want to punch you in the face. Trying to de-escalate those kinds of conversations, or just have them just in a productive way, is one of the only ways you can practice having these with conversations with people who don't want to listen to you. And you can't rely on the emotional kind of end of it when you're talking to a stranger like you can when you're talking to a friend or a family member, but you can still use that same passion. You can use the lessons you learned in how they form their arguments. You can against your argument. You can learn a lot from those interactions, and you know, of course, don't put yourself in harm. Don't let them be abusive towards you. Maintain a good friendship as long as you can, healthy friendship, but don't allow yourself to be manipulated or hurt or abused by people who want to use your care for them to consume all of your time and energy with their constant berating of you and with their political differences, disagreements, their ideology. You know, I drive other leftists crazy. I don't, you know, I would I would tell them the same thing. You know, if you don't like what I'm saying, you don't have to listen. But draw a strong boundary. Be clear about your intents and your your beliefs. Anyway, this is all just tying into caring about each other and caring for yourself, which is usually how I end these programs, because I think it's valid. I think it's valuable to learn good coping mechanisms, life skills that aren't going to allow you that we're going to prevent you from burning out, and, hurting yourself emotionally, or geez, I hope not physically. Um, you know, self-improvement is, you know, a book that, you know, they're going to sell you at Barnes & Noble, but it's also something that's very valuable if you learn how to utilize it in the proper way, and trying to just have a better life, treat the people around you better, care for people more deeply, share more openly. That's what we're about here. We might be goblins a lot of the time. We might be nasty little freaks a lot of the time, but I do care a lot. A whole hell of a lot. Even if I have never met you. Just how I am. So, end of the day, I want you all to take care of yourself, take care of each other, and good journeys.